But folks, I did a video a while back called Who's Behind Joe Biden? And I talked about divisions in the American ruling class. I talked about how there are two factions right now. There is what you can call the managerial bourgeoisie, and there is what you can call the entrepreneurial bourgeoisie. There is the ultra-rich and the rich. The ultra-rich are already at the top of capitalism. They're at the top of the food chain. And they would like to stabilize things to stay at the top. These are the slow growth capitalists. These are the ones that want to keep everything stable so that they stay at the top. They want to declare human progress, game over, they're at the top. They tend to favor, more of a welfare state, more efforts towards stabilization. They're even talking about UBI now. They're just trying to stabilize society so they can stay at the top. And then you have the entrepreneurial bourgeoisie. And they feel like they're not part of the club. They're rich, but they're not part of the club. They feel like the government and the game has been rigged against them, and they want free markets and privatizations. Yes, bad appanata. I'm going to get to that, but I'm writing it down. Yes, but it's in my opening spiel here. I'm going to get to it eventually. Calm down, folks. I know you all want fight, fight, fight. I'm getting to it. Don't worry. All right. And this is a division. This is a division between the entrepreneurial bourgeoisie and the managerial bourgeoisie. And it's a long-standing division. Trump represents probably the majority of the rich people in America that feel like they've been locked out of the club. Sheldon Adelson is one of those people. The Koch brothers are one of those people. The fracking companies are among those elements. The hotel chain owners. Hobby Lobby, big supporters of Donald Trump. They own the craft stores, Hobby Lobby. And those folks feel like they're not part of the club. And the four super major oil companies, right? ExxonMobil, BP, Chevron, and Shell Oil. That's the Rockefeller family, the DuPonts, the Morgans. Those elements feel like they are at the top. They have huge think tanks and huge efforts. They are the Eastern establishment of American politics. That's the division between the American ruling class right now. It's the ultra-rich versus the rich. And it's been going on. And I watched some of Joe Biden's remarks today. And again, it fit everything that I've been telling you all. Right? Joe Biden said he wants to, quote, restore relations with the World Health Organization. Joe Biden criticized Donald Trump for encouraging folks to open up the economy, open up the economy at risk of public health. He urged people to wear a mask. He's a manager. He represents that managerial faction. He wants to keep things calm so certain people stay at the top, and slow growth. That's what he's all about. And there's this current controversy right now. It's one of those controversies that just wants to make you pull your hair out. And what's happening is that the New York Times has claimed that the Russian government is paying bounties to the Taliban to kill U.S. soldiers. And the Russian government has come out and said that's ridiculous. Anyone with half a brain realizes that doesn't make any sense. Why would that make any sense? Why would Russia want to destabilize a country in Central Asia? Right? They already have enough problems with the drug cartels there. They have enough problems with the terrorist groups that have come in there. Russia wants a stable Afghanistan. So why in the world would they encourage more violence and terrorism? It doesn't make any sense. It makes absolutely no sense from a geopolitical perspective. There's no reason that Russia would do this. Regardless, Joe Biden won't even say he believes it. Right? You'll notice some of the statements from Joe Biden even have, if this is true, it's like Joe Biden won't even fully come out and say he believes this. But the scandal is that supposedly Donald Trump didn't alert the world about this scandal. Well, Donald Trump has said it was not credible. And so, based on that, there is a torrent of liberals screaming that Donald Trump is soft on Russia. And it's painful to watch. It's painful to watch. And that's the big issue here. But again, it points to divisions within the ruling class. Right? It points toward divisions over Russia and, Maduro, right? We know Joe Biden has accused Trump of being soft on Maduro. And we know that Joe Biden has accused Donald Trump of and now he's accusing him of covering up for Russia against this scandal. If this is true, yeah. But folks, this points toward an ongoing thesis that I have had, which, yes, came up in an argument I had with another internet personality yesterday. This concept of the synthetic left. The synthetic left. Folks, why do I wear a suit? Why do I wear a suit? Why wear a suit? Didn't used to wear suits. I was a member of one of the small communist groups in the United States for a long time. Did a lot of protesting, had really long hair, had a beard, was part of Occupy Wall Street. I finally got a haircut at one point in 2013. And then later in the year of 2013, I went to the World Festival of Youth and Students in Quito, Ecuador. And I went to this huge gathering of communists from around the world. I met communists from Greece. I met communists from Guatemala. I met communists from Vietnam, the Ho Chi Minh Communist Youth Union. I met communists from China. I met communists from Russia. I met communists from Ukraine. I met communists from Zimbabwe. I met communists from the Arab world, from Syria. I met communists from Angola. I met communists from all over the world, Sri Lanka, places like that. This festival was full of communists wearing suits. And I talked to these communists from around the world, from Africa, from Asia, from Latin America, and I discovered that this was a totally different breed than the people I'd been marching around and protesting with in the United States. These communists that I met from the developing world did not fit either of the two categories of communists in America. In America, if you want to be in the USA, I should say, if you want to be a communist, you have two choices. On the one hand, you can basically be a self-hating communist. You can just be a liberal, work for the Democratic Party, and maybe once a year read some Marx or go to a May Day parade or something. But for the most part, just kind of give up on actually trying to implement socialism. You can be just kind of a normal Democrat liberal who happens to have communism in their like a skeleton in their closet. That's a lot of communists, right, in the United States. They seem inseparable from regular Democrats. They live normal, regular capitalist lives, and they're just Democrats who happen to have this communist thing, But then, if you don't want to do that, right? If that doesn't sound appealing to you, if you really do want to believe in communism, and you don't want to just kind of go through the motions once a year, you can be a fringe extremist, right? You can sell newspapers about Trotsky, you can burn the American flag, you can run around screaming and yelling and, throwing bricks at police officers and doing crazy stuff. Those are the two options you have in the United States if you want to be a communist. You can be a crazy extremist who no one listens to, or you can abandon your beliefs and just kind of forget about it. And what I met in Quito, Ecuador, was a totally different breed. These folks were not fringe elements. I met with the Communist Party of India Marxist that controls an entire region in India of Kerala. They wear suits. I met communists from Angola that are the ruling party of a country, the MPLA. I met communists from Vietnam, ruling party of a country. I met communists from Russia that control whole regions. These folks are not irrelevant, but they're not sellouts either. You talk to them, they know Marx up and down, backwards and forwards. They can explain to you in detail how their policies are guided by Marxism-Leninism. They have studied Marx, they've studied Lenin, they are revolutionaries through and through. It was a totally different brand. It wasn't crazy extremists, and it wasn't sellouts and people who've abandoned Marxism. It was professional revolutionaries. Professional revolutionaries who actually want to get something done, but haven't sold out their beliefs. That's who I met. And it was a life-changing experience. And that forced me to think, because every communist that I spoke to at that festival asked me almost the same question, which is, what's wrong with American communists? What's wrong with American communists? I got that same question over and over again. What is wrong with American communists? What's wrong with American communists? And I kept pondering that because I knew that there was something wrong with American communists. And there was something wrong with American communists. Something very, very wrong with American communists. In fact, I knew that there was something wrong with American communists. I mean, so much of what I had seen over the course of my activism in the United States and being a member of a communist group was weird. There is an intrinsic belief in a lot of Marxist circles that average Americans are the enemy, right? That average American working people are ignorant, foolish people, that the working class of the United States is bought off and they're squares and they're not revolutionary enough. There's this contempt for the broad masses of people in leftist groups. And there's this desire on the part of many American communists to not look professional. There's this desire to look sloppy. This desire, people get together and they almost boast about the hardship that they've experienced in their life. Look, my life was hard. No, my life is hard. No, my life is hard. I'm a victim. No, I'm a victim. No, I'm a bigger victim than you. And it's really bizarre. American communists are very, very strange. There's a huge dose of counterculture, of hippieism. There's a huge dose of assuming that average Americans will never be won to our beliefs, that we're this fringe element of people. Most Americans are evil. We're the good one. There's all this confusion. What's this about? Why did it happen? Well, there's a number of factors involved. I mean, there's the fact that you always have a revolutionary intelligentsia, no matter what the country is like. You always have a revolutionary intelligentsia, that exists, that's separate from the broad masses of people, and that, in order for a revolution to happen, that revolutionary intelligentsia has to find a way of mobilizing the broad masses of people. That's what is to be done, the pamphlet by Lenin, is all about. That's the history of Bolshevism. That's the history of Mao in China. It's how do you get that revolutionary intelligentsia, kind of radical intellectuals, to be able to, mobilize millions of people? It's a struggle. But it's worse than that. There was a program in the 1960s, 1950s it started, called the Congress for Cultural Freedom. And it was a CIA program, and the CIA now brags about it, in which the CIA worked to effectively destabilize and confuse the revolutionary intelligentsia. And they did this by funding anti-communist leftism, right? And they did everything they could to promote, subsidize, and do everything they could to highlight certain left-wing voices that were anti-communist. They funded in the United States a magazine called Partisan Review magazine, and they brought us the work of Susan Sontag and Hannah Arendt, right? In Germany, they had Der Monat, and they brought us the work of Theodor Adorno, and they brought us the work of all kinds of people. Read about Melvin Lasky. They subsidized all kinds of left-wing thinkers and intellectuals and artists who were anti-Soviet. And in the process, along with the Rockefeller foundations, the Rockefeller think tanks, they distorted and changed left-wing politics. And this is an open secret. Whole books have been written about this. There's a book by Finks, How the CIA Hoodwinked Some of America's Greatest Writers. There's all kinds of publications about this. The Congress for Cultural Freedom is a well-documented reality. And if you look at the left-wing intellectuals that were promoted by the U.S. CIA, they had a distinctly different view, a very distinctly different view of what it meant to be a socialist and what it meant to be a revolutionary than the Soviet Union did. Hannah Arendt, one of her main themes was to equate the Soviet Union with Nazi Germany. Right? They were both totalitarian states. That was one of her big themes, and she writes this book about Adolf Eichmann in Jerusalem. Adolf Eichmann is the Nazi who was arrested in Argentina and taken to Jerusalem and charged for the crimes he committed during the Holocaust and hanged. And if you read her book Eichmann in Jerusalem, her charge against Adolf Eichmann, right, so the banality of evil, is Adolf Eichmann's a normal person, and deep down, normal people are evil. Right? That's basically what she argues. Normal people, average normal people, deep down, are evil. And you need smart intellectuals to control them because average people, deep down, are all Nazis. That's basically what Hannah Arendt is arguing, right? It's supposed to be this lesson about anyone could go along with evil. But if you look at it, she argues in her thing that deep down, all people are basically Nazis. They're all hateful. Adolf Eichmann is just a normal guy. He's not an evil Nazi. He's an average normal person. And that's why we need to control average normal people, right? You look at Susan Sontag's writing. She starts writing about fascism. And she says the Soviet Union is more fascist than Nazi Germany. Reddit purges. All right, writing it down. The Soviet Union is more fascist than Nazi Germany, she says. And that it's effective fascism. It's fascism with a human face. And it's fascist because they believe in gymnastics. And it's fascist because the state represents the will of the people. And that there's this sudden understanding that what it means to be a leftist, isn't that you fight for the working class and the majority against the billionaires and bankers. It doesn't mean that you fight for the banks, factories, and industries to be organized to serve the people and not profits. No. That being a leftist is about deconstruction. It's about tearing things down. It's about not organizing society, not having clear beliefs, not believing in objective reality and truth, because all of that's fascist. It's about defining individualism, highlighting competing narratives. This all gives way to postmodernism. The belief that there is no objective reality, that there is no grand narrative for humanity, that truth comes through deconstruction and taking apart ideas, while at the same time highlighting competing narratives. That's postmodernism. That's Derrida, right? That's Michel Foucault, right? And if you look at those folks, they replaced Lenin's understanding of imperialism. Imperialism is an economic system in which, Wall Street and London keep developing countries poor so that they can stay rich. They replaced that with a concept called cultural imperialism, where if China builds railways in Tibet and builds power plants, that's robbing these ancient traditional Tibetan people that live without electricity of their traditional way. It's arguing that primitivism is beautiful, while progress, the concept of progress itself, is oppressive, and that leftism suddenly becomes this group of people who want deconstruction, don't believe in objective reality, don't believe in truth, and accuse anyone who believes in truth, anyone who works hard for a goal, anyone who has strong beliefs, of being a fascist. Right? That's basically what leftism has become. It has become a deconstruction cult. It has become a cult of tearing things down. It has become a group of people that love chaos and oppose order. It has become a group of people that say that there is no truth. It's become a group of people that think that objective reality is a fascist conspiracy. And it has not become a group of people fighting for the majority, the working class, to seize control of the means of production and organize it rationally to raise people out of poverty. Instead, leftism has become a vehicle for alienated intellectuals to try and deconstruct society, to control those broad masses of people that deep down are evil. They're all Eichmann deep down, to fight against any objective reality, because that's fascist. So anyone who tells you anything is true is fascist, and to move human history backwards. And you combine that, of course, with radical environmentalism, right? Not with Malthusianism. Right? That human progress is bad for Mother Earth. It's bad for Mother Earth. There's just too many people in the world. The poor people are having too many children. We can't raise people out of poverty because that'll lead to greater pollution. And you get this death cult, this Malthusian deconstructionist death cult that calls itself the left, that has taken over. Right? Marxism, Leninism has been pushed into the background. Socialism, actual socialism, non-Marxist socialism has been pushed into the background. Leftism has become a deconstructionist cult. It's become a group of people that want to tear things down. And those people don't like me, because I am one of those suit communists. I, Caleb Maupin, am a real Marxist. I'm a real socialist. I'm a real leftist. I am like the communists I met in Ecuador. I'm like the communists in Zimbabwe. I'm like the communists in India. I wear a suit. I want to help my people and my country. I want to raise people in my community out of poverty. I want to organize the economy rationally. I want to end racism and bigotry. I want peace with countries around the world. I want to end the economic system of imperialism and replace it with a world with win-win cooperation where countries are trading with each other on a mutually beneficial basis. I want an economy where the banks, factories, and industries are organized to serve public good and not profits. All of that is something that the synthetic left opposes. They don't want that. If millions of people are raised out of poverty, that leads to more pollution. If society is mobilized to control the economy, they're building things. They're not tearing things down. And people are cooperating to get things done. If they have common values, that means they might have a common truth. And that's totalitarian, objective reality, right? That this entity that has been created as a result of all kinds of funding and manipulation and CIA activities, this entity that calls itself left, the synthetic left, serves not the working class. No. It serves the ultra-rich. It's slow growth politics. Slow growth politics. Like I was telling you at the beginning, the people that have benefited from this damn pandemic. The ultra-rich, the managerial bourgeoisie. That is who the synthetic left serves. And it's about holding back human history, holding back human progress, declaring that we have only slow growth, reducing the human population, destabilizing, and holding back human progress. And that's basically what the synthetic left has become. It has become a mob. It has become the political wing of the ultra-rich and their struggle to end human progress and stabilize and control the world and beat back countries like Russia, China, Vietnam, Cuba, Iran, Venezuela that have raised themselves up out of poverty. Keep the world centered around Wall Street and London. Keep the world poor. Begin the process of making the Western countries even poorer. It is their long-term vision of building a world that is carefully controlled. That is basically what the synthetic left has become. And I oppose that. I oppose that. I, instead, think that we can do better than this. I'm an optimist. I'm an optimist. And socialism, for me, is deeply optimistic. It's an optimistic ideology. It means that we can reorganize society in a rational way. We can have unlimited, sustainable growth. And we can have an end to the exploitation of human beings by other human beings. And we can eventually move toward a world that doesn't even need a government because so much material abundance has been created. That's Marxism. Marxism is a progressive ideology. It is an optimistic ideology. It is a hopeful ideology. It's based on the belief that human beings are creative creatures. Human beings struggle and work hard to fight for their own interests. Marxism is a hopeful, materialistic ideology. It is optimistic. And the synthetic left is full of pessimism. The world is about to end. Everything's getting worse. The world is going to hell. It's bad for the environment. We need to go backwards. Things used to be better before we got technology. I mean, the synthetic left is not optimistic at all. It's very pessimistic, dark. Destruction is good. Tear things down. Disorder. The synthetic left's worldview is very, very dark and primitive and hopeless. And so, of course, they don't like me. I am an actual Marxist. These forces are part of the cult, the death cult, the synthetic left, the pessimistic, destruction, tear things down cult. And so, of course, they hate suits. Why would I want to dress respectably? Why would I want to look like somebody who's taken seriously? I should be wearing ripped jeans. I should be running around breaking windows. I should be burning the American flag. I should be telling average Americans that they're racist Euro settlers and who deserve to die. I should, that's, of course, that's what these people think, right? There's this death cult, this destructive death cult that has replaced leftism. That is the basis for my arguments with this empanada guy. That's what it's about. And the sad thing is, though, here's the sad thing. This is the sad thing about all this, is that for a lot of people, this isn't just about politics. It's about their own life. For a lot of people who get into synthetic leftism, they're deeply depressed people. They're deeply hopeless people. They don't think that there's a future better than today. They don't feel good about their life. They don't feel like things could be getting better. They just feel angry. They feel like maybe they want to be a martyr. The greatest example of this, right? Right? How do you become popular? How do you become popular among synthetic leftists? Lose, right? Why is Rosa Luxemburg allowed among these people? These people, if you say you like Stalin, they lose their minds. If you like Mao, they lose their minds. You like Castro, they lose their minds. Rosa Luxemburg, why do they like Rosa Luxemburg? She lost. Oh, she's safe. Why do they like the anarchists of Spain? They lost. Oh, they're safe. Why do they like Peter Kropotkin? He lost. He's safe. That's how this stuff works. When you win and actually start building, actually start getting things done, the New York Times accuses you of violating human rights. And at that point, it becomes somewhat toxic to like you. And so these folks no longer like leaders who actually win. They don't like socialist leaders who actually win. They like people who epically lose because it's part of their mindset. They don't want to actually win. They want to feel good in their isolation from society. They want to feel like martyrs. They want to feel like the rest of the world doesn't understand them, but they're right and the rest of the world is wrong. And they want to celebrate their isolation and be proud of their isolation from the broad masses of people. They want to feel special. They want to feel better about themselves. They want to celebrate their own weakness and their own backwardness. And so they like people who lost. They like martyrs. They like people that are untainted by actually winning in the real world. That's the issue here. And if you're in a group like that, if you're among the synthetic left, you begin to think that way. Folks, I, Caleb Maupin, give you permission to have success. These are hard economic times. So many people are suffering. But if you are able to get yourself a decent job and take care of your family, I give you permission to do that. If you are able to start a business, a small store, a small enterprise, and able to make some money and take care of your family, I give you permission to do that. Working people in this country have been suffering for so long, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with working people wanting to improve their conditions. I give you permission to have a good life. I give you permission. And in fact, I would encourage you to demand that your government and your leaders make it easier for you to have better conditions. I think that you should be demanding that your government hire the unemployed and put them to work making a better country, repaving our crumbling roads, purifying our water, building new universities, building new schools. You should be demanding that your government do more to make you successful. Furthermore, I think you should be demanding that our government take public ownership of the oil and natural gas and coal and timber and use the money to make you more successful, to build more schools, more universities, more hospitals, more infrastructure, more high-speed trains. Furthermore, I think the government should be facing a mass demand by the population. The public should start demanding that the government take control of the lending of money and start lending money in a way that helps you to be more successful. Invest in your communities. Invest in your towns and your municipalities, not in a way that makes a private banker likely to make money. Have the banks under public control, the printing of money under public control. Get rid of the Federal Reserve. Have public control of banking so we can strategically plan out the economy so that you can be more successful. Furthermore, I feel like in order to ensure that you are more successful, I think the government should guarantee you the right to housing, the right to health care, the right to education, so that you don't have to worry about these things. Hear, hear, says Heavy Dukes. Yes, you shouldn't have to live in fear of losing your health care if you lose your job. You shouldn't have to live in fear of losing your home. You should be able to unleash your creativity, not terrified of living in poverty. I want you to be successful. I want you to unleash your human potential. That is the goal of socialism. I want you to accomplish amazing things, and I want the state not to be protecting big bankers and billionaires, but to be protecting you and unleashing you and enabling you to be creative, enabling you to live up to your potential, enabling you to carry out and conduct miracles. The government should be finding the Einsteins and the Mozarts among our youth and empowering them, not sending them to shitty, falling down schools. I want the government, the state, to be unleashed to fight for the people. I want a government of action that will fight for working families. We need a government of action to fight for working families. That's what we need. This is an optimistic view of socialism. I'm describing socialism to you right now. I'm describing a state that controls the economy in order to unleash economic growth and human progress. This is the kind of socialism I believe in. It's an optimistic socialism. It's a socialism about unleashing human potential. It's a socialism about communities that have long been downtrodden and suffering, being unleashed to do great things. It's a socialism about fighting racism, fighting sexism, fighting bigotry of all kinds. That's what it is. That's what socialism is about. However, if your socialism is a socialism of pessimism, a socialism of poverty, a socialism of hopelessness, a socialism of tearing things down, a socialism of deconstruction, a socialism that doesn't like the paintings of Diego Rivera, but instead prefers the work of Jackson Pollock. If it's a socialism that would prefer pornography to the work of Sergei Eisenstein, it's a socialism that says beauty is totalitarian, but ugliness should be celebrated, I'm not the guy for you. I wear a suit. I'm optimistic. I want you to be successful. Guilty as charged. Guilty. Guilty as charged.